this young generation, they need people like Mark Henry for guidance and wisdom, and kind of sit down at the learning tree and learn from these veterans. But from everything I've heard, these young athletes today know everything.
Let's talk about somebody else that's in the news here, Vince. Mark Henry has teased coming back into WWE. I'm curious, though, what role would he play when he came back? He's not coming in, obviously, as a talent, I couldn't imagine. But so what else could he do in the back for those guys?
That is so is he talking about an on-air role, or is he talking about?
He didn't specify. He just teased coming back. I can't imagine that he would come back in for for a match. As much as he has talked about his body and that if somebody even laid a hand on him, he'd probably kill him because he doesn't want to go through that again. So I can't imagine that he'd be playing a role, in the ring, maybe as a manager or maybe somebody in the back to help out. But he got wasted in AEW, so I'm curious what he would do in WWE.
Bro, here's the problem, Mac, from what I hear and from what I understand. This young generation, they need people like Mark Henry for guidance and wisdom, and kind of sit down at the learning tree and learn from these veterans. But from everything I've heard, these young athletes today know everything. And I got to tell you, Mac, I experienced that starting in 2005.
Wow.
When I was in 2005, this new wave of young athletes started coming in that knew more than Vince Russo would ever know. And I got to tell you, Mac, I worked in an industry where, bro, it was all about respect.
Yes.
Whether the writer agreed with the talent or not, we respected each other. I worked with men, the Undertaker and Bret Hart. I mean, these were men.
Yes.
All of a sudden, these kids were coming in, and I told you, I'm telling you, Mac, at that point, I said to myself, I don't want to work with these people. I have no interest in working with these kids who think they know everything. And everything I hear about AEW and the rich wealth of veterans they have there, the endless list. I mean, Jake was there, and Dean Malenko is there, and JR is there, and Tony Schiavone, and the list goes on and on and on. From everything I hear, bro, it's like those guys tried,
yes,
but they just got to the point of, you know what, man? I'm just going to collect the paycheck and I'm just going to do my job, because this young athlete today does not want to listen. But I got to tell you, I don't know, man. Mark Henry is very imposing.
Yes.
And maybe it would be a little different. But the young athletes today, bro, I think the one thing they lack more than anything, Mac, is freaking discipline. They need to be taught discipline and respect like we were taught by our parents, bro, when we grew up. You learn, bro. I swear, I learned at the age of 3, I think, Mac. Respect your elders. You're always going to get something from your elders. They've been around longer than you. They've experienced life. I was taught that at 3 years old. Bro, that's out the window today, Mac.
And Vince, that's sad, because in my entire life, whether I was in radio, through wrestling, or what I'm doing now in the in the wrestling world as a journalist, or working, whatever you want to call what we do, actually, podcasting, I've always tried to listen to somebody who was older than me. I made a habit of always having someone in my life that was older and wiser, because that was the only way I would pick up the knowledge I needed to grow. And I don't see that happening anymore. And you're right. I have talked to many people in the back of AEW who have said flat out, the kids don't give a shit. They don't want to hear what you have to say. They just don't care.
Yeah, Mac, I got to tell you, and I tell this story all the time, man. When I was in WCW, I had one car ride with Arn Anderson. And I'm telling you, bro, I can remember every single word of that conversation. I had one car ride with Dutch Mantel. I can tell you I would sit there, bro, like a child, just listening. And that's the thing. That is why I am not a fan of today's product. I am not a fan of today's athlete. Because how could you not want to listen to the people that have been there? And Mac, I don't understand that. It's a huge mistake on their part.
I totally agree, and I think it's a shame that happens in the business today. And I've even heard that Dustin Rhodes in AEW held classes. I can't remember who was making this comment recently, but I wish I could remember. But he was holding classes, and nobody would come to the classes. He was offering free training from Dustin Rhodes, and you don't want to listen?
Bro, Hogan has told stories about every time he goes back to the WWE, nobody even talks to him. Jeez. Bro, can you imagine if I'm a 25-year-old wrestler and Hulk Hogan walks in the door? Can you imagine? Bro, I swear to God, Mac, I can remember. I a couple of years ago, man. God, it probably 10 years ago already. I worked one of these conventions, right? Yep. And, the night before, like everybody was eating at the little restaurant they had there. Everybody was there. And I swear to God, I look over, bro, and Jim Myers is sitting by himself. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Bro, I sat next to him. And the freaking stories he told me in like 30 minutes. I never forget those conversations. How does a guy like Hogan walk in and you're not trying to pick this guy's brain?
Yeah. That absolutely incredible to me. I'm 60 years old. So, for me, I think you're probably maybe a few years older than me at most. So we grew up about the same time, and respect was something that was built into us. And it's not there anymore. I totally agree, and it's a shame. So maybe Mark Henry getting back into WWE, maybe he can get a hold of some of these younger guys, and maybe that atmosphere in WWE is a little different than AEW, because I don't hear so many complaints coming out of that camp in WWE. I just hear them mainly coming from AEW, but it is a true shame.
Yeah,
Vince, I've enjoyed this. We've run out of time really fast. We're coming up.
That was quick, Mac. That was quick, man.
I enjoyed it. This has been Riding with Russo. I've been your guest host, Mac Davis, filling in for Dr. Chris Featherstone. He'll be back next week. And Russo, Vince, I can't tell you how much I enjoyed this. I look forward to maybe doing this again in the future.
Yeah, it was great meeting you, bro. It was great doing this with you. I hope we could do this again.
I agree.
Check out BrainBuster, the daily quiz that tests your WWE knowledge with winning streaks, stats, and more. It's time to see if you're up for the challenge.